A single drop of blood. One painless finger prick. A tiny vial the size of a raindrop, promising to reveal hundreds of secrets hidden inside the human body. It was a promise so beautiful, so futuristic, that it captured Silicon Valley, Washington, D.C., Wall Street, and millions of ordinary people around the world. But behind the glow of magazine covers and billion-dollar headlines was a truth so fragile that even whispering it inside the company could cost you your job. This is the story of Theranos, Elizabeth Holmes, and the blood test that never worked. Elizabeth Holmes did not grow up planning to become the center of one of the biggest scandals in modern tech. Born in 1984 to a family connected to politics and business, she was gifted, driven, and consumed by a single obsession: to change the world before the world changed her. As a teenager, she filled notebooks with inventions. By 18, she was studying chemical engineering at Stanford University, already telling professors she wanted to become a billionaire entrepreneur. Her idol wasn't a scientist, it was Steve Jobs. His black turtleneck, his transformative vision, his mythic rise. At 19, Holmes made a decision that would define everything that followed. She dropped out of Stanford and launched a startup from her college dorm room. Its name was inspired by two words: therapy and diagnosis. Theranos. Holmes told investors, scientists, journalists, anyone who would listen, that she had invented a device that could run hundreds of medical tests using a single drop of blood. No needles, no long waits. Instant results! It was the kind of idea humanity wanted to believe in, and she knew how to sell it. She lowered her voice to a deep, calm tone. She wore the iconic black turtleneck. She spoke with absolute certainty, even when the science was uncertain. People didn't just invest in her company, they invested in her. Theranos quickly became one of the hottest startups in Silicon Valley. Investors poured in hundreds of millions. Her board included former secretaries of state, military generals, and diplomats. At its peak, Theranos was valued at $9 billion, and Elizabeth Holmes, at just 30 years old, became the youngest self-made female billionaire in the world. But beneath the shimmering surface, a storm was building. Inside Theranos' secretive laboratories, scientists faced a nightmare. The revolutionary machine, known as the Edison, was not performing even basic tests reliably. Results fluctuated wildly. Tests had to be rerun. The tiny blood samples often weren't enough. And the promise of hundreds of tests from a drop of blood, the machine could barely perform a handful. Employees worked in fear. Teams were isolated from each other, giving no one a full picture of the technology. Security guards patrolled halls. Questions were treated as disloyalty. And everything that didn't work was carefully hidden behind frosted glass and non-disclosure agreements. Still, Holmes pushed forward. In 2013, she announced a partnership that would take Theranos from the lab into everyday life. Walgreens would host Theranos testing centers in their pharmacies. Real people, regular patients, would soon rely on Theranos for real medical answers. It was a turning point, and a dangerous one. Because the Edison machine still didn't work. It still couldn't deliver accurate results. And instead of delaying the rollout or admitting the truth, Theranos made a decision that crossed a line. Behind the scenes, they started using regular hospital machines, commercial analyzers, just like any other lab. The one-drop miracle was quietly replaced by full vials of blood, diluted and processed with techniques that were never meant to be used that way. On the outside, Holmes continued smiling, appearing on magazine covers, giving TED Talks, praising her revolutionary device. On the inside, the truth was beginning to leak. Patients started receiving alarming test results. A woman was told she might be miscarrying. Another was told she might have thyroid cancer. A man received a report that suggested he was near a diabetic coma. All of these results were wrong. The myth of the miracle device was beginning to crack. But it would take a handful of brave insiders to finally shatter it. A few employees, scared, exhausted, and deeply troubled, reached out to John Carreyrou, a journalist at the Wall Street Journal. Whispers turned into detailed revelations. The flawed machines, the secret lab operations, the manipulated data, the culture of fear and silence. When Carrie Rue began investigating, Theranos fought back with everything it had. Threats, lawsuits, private investigators following former employees. Holmes used her powerful board and charisma to silence critics. But truth has a way of pushing through even the thickest walls. In October 2015, the Wall Street Journal published the article that changed everything. Within hours, the world saw Theranos not as a miracle, but as a mirage. Regulators stepped in. Investigations launched. Labs were shut down. The company unraveled piece by piece. The billion-dollar empire collapsed. By 2018, Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos president Sunny Balwani were charged with massive fraud, accused of lying to investors, endangering patients, and misleading the public. Holmes's net worth fell from $4.5 billion to zero almost overnight. In the courtroom years later, her carefully crafted image broke apart. The black turtleneck was gone. The deep voice disappeared. The hypnotic certainty faded. What remained was a question that still haunts Silicon Valley today. Did Elizabeth Holmes truly believe in her vision? Or did she choose illusion over reality and hope the science would catch up before the truth caught her? In the end, the blood test that promised everything delivered nothing. Theranos is now a case study in ambition and deception, a reminder that innovation cannot come from hope alone, and that the most dangerous lies are the ones wrapped in dreams we desperately want to believe. Elizabeth Holmes once said she wanted to create a world where no one has to say goodbye too soon. But in chasing that dream, she built something far more tragic. A world where millions place their trust in a miracle that never existed. A story of ambition, illusion, and the blood test that never worked.